Welcome to the Big Screen Bulls podcast, a podcast where Caleb Kendall and Christian McCright give their reviews and reactions to what's happening on the big screen. They talk about films, TV series, and other forms of media entertainment. Episodes are released every Monday. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. Be sure to follow the show's Instagram page at Big Screen Bowls Podcast, where new hints and updates will be released about future episodes.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Big Screen Bowls Podcast, where you have your host, me, Caleb Kendall, and the Navi chief himself, Christian McCright.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I am the chieftain. There's like an actual word for it, but I don't think I can pronounce it. They say it like twice in the new movie. But anyways, thanks for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So with that being said, and if you never heard the word Navi before,
What do you listen to this for?
yeah, yep.
I'm kidding.
Get out of here. We're going to be talking about the Avatar movies.
Yes.
More specifically, the second one, The Way of the Water.
Now, go ahead and start us off with some of the history of like this franchise, like as a whole, Kendall.
Yeah, so just jump straight into it here. Basically, James Cameron had this idea a long time ago to have the Avatar movie come out. He actually wanted to work on it right after he got done with Titanic. And this was his big project he wanted to do right after that. And he was getting everything together. And then he started to realize that the technology wasn't here just yet.
Right.
So we have to put this thing on hold. He picked up another project, went for that for a little bit. And then around the 2000s, when that started to come around, technology finally started to come where the CGI was more advanced for the first movie. And then in 2009, we get the Avatar, the first one. As well, too, when the first Avatar movie came out, this was such a big success that it basically broke records.
Its technology was just way ahead of its time.
Yeah. But yeah, even when we talk about technology, like that's the first form of like really great CGI that we ever saw.
Yeah.
Other than that, like this movie grossed in box offices almost $3 billion, like 2.93 billion.
That's kind of insane to think about.
Yeah. I don't think the movie budgeted, I think, several hundreds of millions, but like that's a whole new level.
James Cameron just dominates the box office because like what now he has three movies that are in like the top 5 like grossing films of all time.
Yeah, I'd say I think the only
two
thing
Avatar movies and the Titanic are all in the top 5.
Yeah, well, that and I think the only thing that beats it is like Gone in the Wind.
Probably.
Like, yeah, a movie that came out a long time ago that just like was one of the only movies that came out at that time. And yeah, only thing that really beat it. So there's only one movie that's came close since Avatars came out, and that is Endgame. Endgame did kind of beat it there at the end, but at the same time, like
yes. So
in
Endgame,
2009 with inflation and stuff like that,
Yeah.
did it win?
right. And I mean, and it did on technicality, it did beat Avatar. But then they were like, oh, well, now we're going to have a re-release of Avatar because we can't lose that number 1 spot.
Yeah.
And then they gained that number 1 spot right back.
Yeah, they released it in China, I believe.
I thought they released it all over the globe, but
Oh, they might have. I know China was a big piece on that second push.
They're always a huge piece of like the film industry.
Yeah,
So
the large population of people.
they have the largest amount of people who purchase tickets overseas. So like, because like you'll have like your like domestic box office and then like your global one, and global one like counts like all the stuff from like overseas,
Yep.
and China is like the biggest portion of all of that for sure.
Oh yeah, but either way, this thing was an absolute huge success. So big that again, it's kind of changed what the whole entire movie industry and even changed what CGI is going to be for the future with just how well done it was.
It set like a new standard for cinematography and making movies because like I mean I'm gonna be honest, back in the day when the first one even came out, I wasn't that big of a fan of the first movie. Um, man, how old was I when that came out? I was probably 10. I was roughly about 10 years old. So like my interest in like I was huge into movies. Here's some background information about me that most of y'all probably don't know. Um, I have been fascinated with movies since I was a little kid, and not just like in like a I'm a child who sits on the floor and watches TV with his blanket and his binky and stuff like that. I not like that. When I was a kid, I had a Polaroid camera that was a gift. And I used to collect these little Star Wars action figures. Can't remember exactly what they're called now. Probably like Galactic Heroes, but I used to call them Star Wars babies, I think, because they were just small. So I got a camera stand or a camera stand, gosh, tripod. I got a tripod camera stand, and I used to try to record my own movies. I would try to recreate a lot of the scenes from Star Wars with these action figures. This was like back when like YouTube had like just kind of first came out. But I never put it on YouTube. I wanted to put it on like a homemade DVD. If any of you know even what that is nowadays. And that is where my fascination for like being behind the camera started. And that was always like, that was my dream job forever. And one of my best and favorite gifts I ever got for my birthday was a director's chair. And I still have it, still love it. And so this movie, Avatar, was such a leap and bounds for the movie industry as a whole and like movie making and cinematography that part was more fascinating to me than the actual movie itself.
Okay.
But anyways, that like encompasses my whole thoughts on the first movie.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I'm trying to remember. The movie was kind of roughly based off of a kind of an American Western movie as well too. So, or that's what it feels like it was based. It felt like it was based upon, and a lot of people will agree to this as well too, that it was basically European settlers were coming into the United States at the time and kicking natives off the land.
Yeah.
And it felt just like that, except let's go ahead and move it to 1,000 years in the future from today, or whatever the time set is at this point too.
And it's on like a different planet, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pandora.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like it tells that kind of story as well as I've heard mention of other people who've talked about these two films saying how like, oh, the first movie's about how like we're polluting the air and stuff like that because like the main tribe in the first film like has to do with like flying animals and things like that, or those flying dragon things that they ride. And the second movie has a lot to do with like we're polluting our waters and stuff like that. But the third movie is supposed to be about fire or something like that. Like there's like another tribe of people. There's like the fire people. So I wonder what the message is for that. Like we're polluting our volcanoes. I don't know. So
I don't know if I've heard it like that. I've heard everybody wants to go through all the elements though. They want to go through air. They want to go through water.
Yeah.
Fire. And then maybe an earth of some sort.
And there's like 5 movies planned overall. So probably with the 5th movie, they'll probably have all those tribes like come together against the humans, probably. That's my early prediction. If that's right, I should bet money on that right now. I should.
Should find a sports bookie or something like that does movies. We're going to make the first app.
Thing is that if he's going to take so much time in between all these movies, we have to see if he like lives long enough to even get these movies made, you know?
Yeah, I think he's got a pretty good plan on getting them out pretty quick, in my opinion.
That's what he said with the last one. It took 13 years.
But true.
To be fair, COVID did take like 2 or 3 years out of like everybody's plan.
Yeah.
So I'll cut him some slack and just cut it down from like 13 to like 9 or 10 years.
As well too, like movies have struggled to make money in the past box office type settings, and the Way of Water as well too still made $2.25 billion.
Yeah.
Like, it's still not a pushover of a movie by any means.
Oh no, it still made tons of money, but that's because like everyone knew like what it stood for.
Yep.
How many people actually now? You sitting at home or going on a walk or at work, wherever you're at, I want you to be honest with yourself right now. How many of you actually went to see these movies because you thought the plot was going to be good? I bet you it's going to be less than half. I think the majority of people went to go see these movies because the advancement in technology is just breathtaking.
Yeah.
That's the main appeal for these movies. It's like, oh, it's from James Cameron who spent all this money in making this new technology that's incredible, and that's like the main appeal. So anyways, that's just a little like thought of mine. It's like, how many of you actually go see this movie because you think it's going to be a great movie?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I liked it. Like, it's not
No, I liked it too.
it's not an
but-
awful plot by any means. It's like in some ways it could be simple. Like, it's bad guys come to take natural resources from tribe people that live there.
Yes.
People fight back.
Ooga
End of-
booga.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not even Ooga Booga too, but that's the end of it. Like, it's simple. Like, Ooga Booga would be just that's happening and they're just fighting the whole entire time.
There's a lot of fighting in this movie though.
Yeah.
But it is entertaining, and I will say this. Because the focus of this is supposed to be the second film. I believe Avatar 2 is actually better than the first one.
Oh.
I think a lot of people might probably disagree, but I think since I've seen the first Avatar movie about 3 times, and I've only seen this new one time, I found myself more invested in this movie. I don't know why. It may be partially due to like the family stuff. It plays pretty heavily into like the story of family and what we do for each other, and that was really compelling for me. I really enjoyed that, and I felt like the first movie, while it had advancement in technology and had like a had a simple plot, but it was a really neat concept. I don't feel like I was as invested in the characters in the first one as I was for this movie.
Okay. And I think as well too, I would say, in my opinion at least, and I'll go ahead and this is one of the probably the best times we could ever disagree with each other because I really like the first one a lot, just
Okay.
a little bit more.
That's fair. You can be wrong. That's fine.
We're
Had
gonna
to put that in there.
Yeah, we got a new soundboard here, folks. So we've got all types of different sounds we could put into the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, we're
so.
playing around with it.
But I'd say the first one and the second one, again, very similar concepts of people take resources, like I said beforehand. I think while the first one kind of extends that to me, like you said, the second one's more of that family piece. The first one's more of a redemption arc for a guy who lost his legs, a soldier that fought really, really hard, did all this stuff, and his brother was the one who's supposed to take his place, but he's the only one that had the genetic code strong enough to make that connection that they'd already currently built out. And just have to look through his eyes and have him have that internal struggle of, hey, am I doing the right thing here? Am I doing the right thing of kind of making these people trust me just so I can betray them at the end?
Am I being a good little soldier? It's kind of similar to like Captain America almost. Not that Captain America was like out to like betray people, but like having a loyalty to like your people and what they do and what they stand for. And then when they do something wrong, you're at like a crossroads of like, do I stick with them or do I go my own way? And Jake Sully decided to go his own way and therefore, set off a whole chain of events. So I like that, like the actions of the first film were really brought to a head in the second film because like Colonel Quaritch is the main antagonist, and he actually has some pretty interesting stuff in this movie. I actually wasn't expecting them to bring him back. I knew nothing about this movie going into it.
Yeah.
So bringing him back I thought was really interesting because then he has like this whole squad of people who are like, we must infiltrate the Na'vi. We have to think like them, talk like them, do all this stuff. I thought that was really cool. And then he has like this this kid named Spider. That whole part is kind of strange. Spider is like a human that wears like the oxygen mask thing, but he spends a lot of his time with Jake Sully and his family. But it's interesting to see Quaritch have more to do. And I think this film really like excels in kind of allowing more investment in not only the protagonist and the antagonist, but also the world, and getting to flesh out that world a bit more. Because then they, you know, they go to like the water tribe. They spend time trying to learn how to ride like all like the water things, like the whales and the other things that I can't really describe very well. Was very interesting, and like those are like the best moments. Like to me,
Yeah, I'd
is
agree.
when you're like diving into the world. No pun intended, because of water. Are you gonna?
Gotta find out
Nice.
where the button
Okay,
is again.
I immediately, as soon as I said it, I was like, he's gonna press the button.
I was gonna keep my hand on it the whole time. Just
But what was your?
oh dang it! I thought a pun was coming.
Oh no! What was your favorite part of the second film?
Yeah, I think this podcast as well too. We want to jump more into the second one. The first one, again, you guys have seen it. It's been on Disney Plus forever. You can kind of have your own opinions on it a little bit to an extent. This one's a little bit new. You probably haven't had the chance to watch it a million times yet. But I'd say my favorite part of this, because what you'd said as well too, it's that idea of opening this new world up. That it's not just Pandora is not just this giant woodlands. It also has water, and it kind of even complements, I think, like native tribes, Polynesian tribes, and stuff like that were
Yeah,
here in the U.S. at the time as well too. So being able to see them, being able to see kind of the different coloring as well too, I thought that was kind of neat.
yeah. It's like a slightly lighter blue, and they have like physical traits that actually showcase,
Yep.
like that they are built for this environment. And so the main characters have to overcome that because they don't have like the extra pieces of skin like hanging off their hands and feet. They have to learn how to deal with this new like water filled environment.
Yep. Or their tail is not.
It's not a specific type.
It's not a fin tail. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
others have at least. It's,
Super cool.
yeah, no, it is really cool. But and it's kind of weird as well too. That, like you don't have like more hybrids and stuff like that. But I don't know. And I also think it's kind of neat too. I don't think they ever mentioned this in the first one, that all Na'vi have, like natural Na'vi, have 4 fingers.
Yeah.
But the humans have the 5, like the human replicas or whatever have 5 fingers.
I don't remember if they mentioned that in the first film.
Yeah, I don't think they did, but it's kind of a neat way. It's like they can grab their hand and be like, "Oh, you're a foreigner or you're an alien. Like you were made by the outsiders."
Yeah, and that was like a huge point they hit for this new film, was
Yeah.
that like Jake Sully's kids have the 5 fingers.
Yep.
And so they would all like make fun of them and call them demons, I think.
Yeah.
So something like that. Very derogatory. And so like they make that a plot point. It's like, oh, like you might be Na'vi, but not naturally. And
Yeah.
so even though you're from a different tribe, not only are you from a different tribe, but you're not even naturally a part of that tribe. So there's a whole lot of complex layers that are added into this really simple story.
Yeah.
The story is extremely simple.
Exactly.
It is Jake Sully is worried about Quaritch coming after him, so he moves his family to the water tribe, and Quaritch is still after Jake Sully the whole time. That's the entire plot of the movie.
Yeah.
Then it has complex layers kind of sewn into that.
Yeah, and I think another thing as well too, just like you mentioned, like family aspect of thing. Let's say my last like little favorite caveat piece was the brother bond
Okay.
that was between, I can't remember the 2 brothers' names anymore now, but
It's like Loak. They're I'd probably have to see it a second or a third time to get them all down.
yeah, because there was a lot of new characters introduced into this.
And one that probably starts with an N. But
Yeah, but either way, like you get to see kind of like not the struggle, but you get to see the kind of the camaraderie. Or you do get to see the struggle of like both of them. The older brother is kind of like is the better brother in a lot of people's minds and stuff like that. He's the more sophisticated. He's smarter. He's he's not the one to do all this crazy stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's good to see that dynamic and stuff like that, and see brothers interact. I feel like you never really get to see that too much in movies.
Sure.
So that's fun to see, and both of them would do anything to help each other out and sacrifice themselves for each other,
Yeah.
which one does have to do at the very end as well too. So
They were very good, like back and forth, and like one of them gets in trouble and the other one comes to save them, and uh, but then they have the sister. They have two sisters.
Yep.
But one of them is Kiri. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Mhm.
And she has like a special like connection to like
the Force.
to the Force. Oh my gosh. And so she can like connect her tail with like basically anything in the world, and she just has like this special connection with it. And it really showcases that, and it kind of teases for the future like what she may become or what she might be in relevance to like the tribes and like the world as a whole. So that stuff was pretty interesting. And other than that, I mean, this movie's pretty straightforward. So I think for me, like, I like this movie. I liked it more than the first movie, but my continuing problem with both of these films is that like they're very simple. Like, yeah, they have like a little bit more complex characters kind of like sewn in between, but like the plot is very predictable. It's really straightforward and not hard to figure out. You know, they're long. Holy cow, they're long.
Well, it's got to show like it's basically a Nat Geo Wild fake version of Nat Geo Wild to show this alien planet that doesn't exist.
Yeah. It is difficult to consume very long movies.
Oh yeah, 3 hours and 12 minutes.
I was like, oh my gosh. And it felt like 3 hours. Because there are parts where it drags on. Of course, like I like when it dives into the world, and that's most of those drag on scenes is them like dealing with just like their everyday environment, which can be interesting, but 3.5 hours, man. Like I'm a human being, and it's hard for most people to sit down for 3.5 hours. And I feel like they could have shaved off like 20 minutes, and it would still be like they could have shaved off 20 to 30 minutes of this movie, and it would have been the same exact movie. So the cinematography is still top notch. I mean, there are scenes in this movie where I'm like, how is that not a real creature? That looks as real as you can possibly make it. But then there's other scenes where I'm like, you know what? The CGI maybe isn't as great in this scene. And you can kind of pick out, and you can nitpick those details all day long. But at the end of the day, it's enjoyable. It's a good movie, and I did like it.
I one thing I disagree with you at least is that this did not feel like it was 3 hours.
Really?
For me at least, like this did not feel like it at all. It was just like I'm at the Alamo Draft House as well too. Shout out to the Alamo Draft House, one of my favorite cinemas to ever go to. They drop off the check like the last 20 minutes or 30 minutes of the movie of some sort.
Yeah.
So they drop all that off, and I'm just sitting there like, oh gosh, like this is already getting ready to be over. Like I feel like there's a lot to still explain and go through here.
Yeah. I do have a random question that doesn't really have much to do with like the movie, but just in like going to the movies in general. Because you like to go to the Alamo, and for those of you who don't know, there's a theater in Springfield called the Alamo Draft House, which is one of our favorite theaters to go to.
Yeah, and it's a chain as well too. So I think they have 35 different locations.
Right. And they serve food and drink. So like you have like a menu, and you sit down at like this table, and you can like grab a piece of paper and like this pen. You can write down what you want, stick it in a slot, turn on a light, and they'll come and grab it. Do you think as a moviegoer, like having it be in like a what's the word? Dinner and a show, that kind of thing. Do you think that ever takes away from the movie experience? Or like distracts you at all, like from the movie going experience? Like, you find yourself ordering food or you're eating food and you look up and think, oh, I didn't pay attention to the last 5 minutes of this movie. Do you ever find yourself in that kind of spot?
I always go 10 minutes, 15 minutes early to look at the menu. And honestly,
you
I go
order what you want beforehand.
Of course, yeah. Like, and I know what I've been there enough that I know what I want beforehand.
You're all business, baby.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
That's right.
But at the same time, like honestly, I think it actually helps the movie going experience.
Okay.
Because one of the biggest things about going to classic movie theaters was two things would always hit you. One, buyer's remorse. I think, and as well, we're just talking about movies here, but like what Alamo Drafthouse does good. What most movies would do, buyer's remorse. They charge concession stand prices for just simple items like popcorn and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you not want people to buy popcorn? Is that kind of what the consensus is? Do you want to put it in a cheap plastic
Tub,
basically? And the Alamo, again, it's endless popcorn. They drop popcorn off. It's in a tin, or it's in a metal.
Yeah, it's like a
pan, metal bowl. And it's only like $8 or $9 or whatever.
It's like $8.50.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's endless.
And I didn't spend $20-something on it. So honestly, a lot of times when I would go to movie theaters, and again, I'm a cheap wad, paying $20 for popcorn I didn't want to pay $25 for popcorn.
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that at all. And then it's like you feel bad because I went to the movies and didn't buy any popcorn. That's un-American at that point. But I don't need to make this $100 day at the end of this too.
It was for me last time I went.
Oh yeah, well, and it's either way too. Like so, like again, like if I buy popcorn, I get some soda, all this stuff. Again, yeah, you will spend $100, but how much would have you spent if that was back in the days of the $20 popcorns, and you got a whole meal out of the deal too?
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I was just curious to see if that like affected your movie going experience at all.
I'd say,
especially for a long movie,
yeah,
that people get easily distracted.
I'd say it was, again, it's one of the biggest benefits. Like I'm not hungry for the movie at all. I don't have buyer's remorse, like I said, as well too.
You're all in.
I get to choose really good quality food as well too. With
that's true. The food
all
is
this
fantastic
too. Like I don't have to choose like just Milk Duds or something like that as
I got some loaded fries.
Yeah,
and like a burger, and I was like, this is awesome.
No cold pretzels.
That's right. Yeah, hot pretzels and cheese, and like water that's refilled.
Yeah.
So
and they're always there to refill as well too. You don't have to run back and.
So you don't think that the new movie feels like it's 3 hours and 12 minutes long or whatever?
Yeah, no, I don't think it felt that way at all. But don't get me wrong, I did have issues with this movie, and honestly, I probably had a lot of issues with this movie.
Okay, let's hear it.
First things first. Oh, I'm scared for my family, so I'm going to go ahead and leave my tribe that I was the leader for and go to this whole other tribe and put them in danger.
Yep. See you guys later.
Yeah, we'll see.
Good luck.
It's not like they're not going to come to you and torture the absolute bejesus out of every single one of you to figure out where I'm at.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
Like, okay, so first thing, like, and you're a military-minded individual as well too. You don't think that, and you know the antagonist that's coming after you. You don't think he'll come to your old tribe, absolutely exterminate the population of that tribe,
and use them to find you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's a great logic going into it. Okay. Well, I'm going to hold that for the rest of the movie at this point.
It happens like at the very beginning, and you're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. And then it's like, let's not go to another tree group or whatever. Let's go to a group where we're going to look completely different from everybody else. So it's like, hey, do you know where there's any tree Navi at? Oh yeah, there's only 3 of them in the whole entire Water Kingdom, and they're right there. Like that didn't make much sense to me as well too. Like maybe go somewhere where you can blend in a little bit better.
Yeah,
speaking out loud here, but so there's that aspect of it, as well as the chief just like watching other tribes be tortured and stuff like that, which don't know why they're torturing other tribes, as well as why they wouldn't torture his home tribe.
Yeah, who knows?
Doesn't make sense in my mind at all. But they don't give them up as well too, which I do understand. There's some integrity within the tribes having respect for one another. And then you have the main antagonist. The main antagonist that died. And they pull some weird scheme or whatever to bring him back because they weren't original enough to find a new antagonist.
The classic, oh well, he's not actually dead, he had a backup plan.
Oh, he had a backup plan. Like, again, they can do that for the whole entire rest of the movie. Like, let's see a new antagonist. Let's be original and let's think of something new within this as well too. Like, in my prediction as well too. And I hope they do this like within the third one, the Way of Fire or whatever else.
Yeah.
I would really rather see it where it's like the native of the fire tribe or whatever are wanting to stand up and exterminate all human life on the planet.
Interesting.
And they're like almost having to be the bad guy then, where it's Navi versus Navi at that point.
That would be cool.
Or they may even think of the other Navi. It's like you are a weak breed. We're the primes. We're the ones that are meant to inherit this planet. So we're going to kill all water, forest Navi, whatever else it is. And then they're actually going to have to team up with the Colonel.
So like the Fire Nation from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Exactly. Well, I'm feeling a lot of Avatar.
A lot of Avatar here.
Avatar. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of Avatar. No, I think that
The third movie we're going to be talking about this and just the whole entire 30 minutes. Avatar. Yeah, Avatar.
I think that they're going towards a redemption arc for Quaritch. I'm not sure how they'll handle it specifically, but I feel like that's the direction that they're heading.
Yeah, I'd say that would be okay now that they've already played these cards or whatever, but man, that just felt like such a stab. Like how much you'd watch that movie and the intensity that you had when he's fighting in that mechanized suit and the arrow from the last minute from his wife or whatever.
Yeah.
Nala?
I'm pretty sure Nala's from The Lion King.
I'm trying to remember her name.
It probably does start with an N. It's probably like Naya, something like that. There's a Y in there somewhere. That's all I know. There's about 2 letters in there.
Yeah.
N and a Y. They're both in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Hard to pronounce, but either way.
They're all hard to pronounce.
The moment where he's just able, not Jake Sully.
Not Jake Sully.
But the moment where there's like the arrows penetrate his chest and the battle's won at that point. The life forms on the planet stand up for the natives and attack and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And let's erase all of that and bring him back because we saved his brain on a master drive.
Yeah.
At that point, why don't you create 30 of them and I'll send them out to attack then?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's got to be intense though. There's got to be tension, Caleb.
Yeah.
You are forgetting about, as I said in our podcast with Eric Grubbs talking about the Rocky franchise, there's a power that is greater and beyond all of us that we could possibly imagine. Money. And so if they can milk this character out as much as they can, they will.
Yeah. I'd say that that piece of it, and then just the idea that, oh, we're just going to capture everybody for half the movie and stuff like that, and not actually do anything bad to them.
Yeah.
Just so we can get Jake Sully. I don't know. I felt like it was a very, I don't know.
It's kind of like a cheap hand.
Yeah, a cheap hand, and then it's just like a lot of the plot devices have just captured people. And then Spider as well, too. Like, hated that as a character.
I didn't mind. Just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's just really, really weird. He's got this mask on the whole entire time, and again, he's been captured the whole movie, whatever, and he's just like, oh, my dad's a cruel and evil man, but I gotta save him.
Because he's my dad.
Yeah, and I've got this big old space mask on, whatever, and I really do nothing except hinder the plot or slow it down by making them try to come after me or whatever else, even though I have no utter role to ever play in anything within this whole entire movie at all, other than just be a plot device to get captured.
Yeah. This movie's 3 hours and 12 minutes long, and I do one thing in the entire movie to help the main protagonist, and it's like near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Whatever. For me personally, I think that there's a lot of stuff in here that I like that outweighs the bad. So I acknowledge that it has issues, but I think I felt myself enjoying this movie more as a whole than I did the first one. But that's just my opinion, and we obviously disagree on that. That's totally fine.
Yeah. And now my heart rate's slowing down a little bit here. It was still a good movie. Don't get me wrong. But just a couple of those things, whatever, were just like,
just scratched you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what would you rate? What would you rate the first and the second movie out of 10 popcorn bowls?
I'd give the first one a 8.4.
Okay.
And then for the second one, I would give it an 8.2.
8.2. You're going with those little decimals.
Yeah, we're going, no, 8.1.
8.1.
9.
I'm not really a math guy. So I think I'll give the first movie, because I just feel differently than other people. I'm gonna give the first movie a 7.5. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Yeah, you go ahead and press it if you want. I'm giving it a 7.5 because I just, the 3 times I've watched it, I'm no more invested in any of the like subsequent times that I watch it. But the second movie, I was really engaged, even though it was long. So I'm going to give the second movie, I'm going to give it a straight 8. I'm going to be like, this is a good movie. It's got issues, but I actually really enjoy it, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah! Yay!
Gotta put all these in last minute, folks.
Yeah. I'm going to give the second one an 8. I think it improves on it. I think there are some things, like as you said, I don't disagree with any of the points that you made about the issues with the film. But for me, it doesn't outweigh a lot of things in the second movie that I think improve on the first one.
I gotcha.
So those are our thoughts.
Those are our thoughts, folks. So other than that, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to tell your buddies, make sure to go to the Alamo Draft House.
That's right. Go watch movies. Go watch these movies. Go watch as many movies as you can.
Yep. And again, too, we Christian talked about, we had the Rocky podcast. We're probably going to have another one up here, too, with Creed 3 currently being in the theaters right now. So
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. Gonna fly now, baby. All right.
What am I doing? I was trying to clap.
Oh, okay.
When I have
saw
a
you
button.
getting ready to clap.
When I have a button for
we
it
have a
now.
button now.
Golly.
SpongeBob, we're not cavemen. We have technology.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in today. Make sure to stay classy.